I've looked up what are the best landing page designs of 2023, and an article from HubSpot came up in the first place, and it gave me this landing page by Shopify as the best landing page of the year. So let's go ahead and build it out with Thrive Architect. Great, so in order to follow along this tutorial, you do need to make sure that you have downloaded and installed Thrive Architect on your WordPress website. This is the best page builder for WordPress that you can use to design and build your landing pages, and it's the one that I'm going to be using to replicate this landing page by Shopify. If you need help getting started with our product manager, there should be a link to a video that can help you with that popping up on screen right now. Right here, right, Mario? Here? Yes? Here. All right, let's get started. Perfect. So I'm in the back end of my WordPress website, and I'm just going to go ahead and create a new page. Let's just call this Shopify Lander for now, save it as a draft, and open it up with Thrive Architect. Awesome. So we are looking to create this landing page completely from scratch. So let's pick out the completely blank page option here to start creating our new page. Cool. And now we are looking at a completely blank canvas. So let's actually start filling this out. Let's insert a background section. And as I said earlier, we're going to make this section match height to screen. That way, this first hero section is going to cover the entire height of whatever viewport people are visiting from. So it doesn't matter if people are visiting from a super large monitor device or if they're on your phone. This first hero section is going to cover the entire height of that screen. Now let's take a look at what this looks like. So again, we need to recreate a little bit of this gradient, right? We need a gradient that goes all the way from the left-hand side over to the center. And then we need a gradient that comes from the right-hand side over to the center. And then as you scroll down, that gradient just kind of fades away, right? So there's three things that we need. We need this, well, first things first, we need to figure out what this background color is, because this is going to be the background color that we're going to be using for the entire landing page. So this is this is Mint Cream F1FFF9. Great. And let me just go ahead and keep on wireframing my page. So I know I'm going to need a new section underneath my hero section. And it's going to be this one here, like the 3-column layout with some of our features. And that's going to make use of our mint cream background color. So let's just go ahead and prepare that. And then we're also going to need one more background section for the logos. So let's go ahead and duplicate this section. And let's just make it a little bit taller. So instead of 150, let's make it 350 for now, at least. That way we can see what each of our sections are looking like. And then we need one more section for this H2 heading. So let's go ahead and duplicate this one again. Just bring it down. And I'm going to go ahead and make this maybe like 250. Great. And then we're going to need one more section, which is going to be making use of a color called Deep Jungle Green. So let's go ahead and insert a new background section. Let's give it, I'm assuming this one's going to be about 450 pixels, more or less. We can always adjust that. Let's make this Deep Jungle Green. Perfect. We will need a gradient though, coming in from the left-hand side. I'm going to teach you how to use absolute positioning to make sure that we stick these images to the top right corner and bottom left corner of this section. So you're going to learn something really cool. And then we need one more background section for our FAQ section. So let's do one more background section. This is going to be, I'm going to make this like 600 pixels. And again, we will probably get rid of these minimum heights eventually as we work through our page. But just for the sake of wireframing our landing page, I just want to go ahead and get them in there. Great. Let's stick this as our main background color. And since I'm actually making use of mint cream, I'm going to save this as a favorite color. That way I don't have to be copying and pasting it all the time. And we need one more section for our footer. Let's go ahead and make that mint cream as well. Thrive is actually calling it clear day, but anyways, I like mint cream better. Great. So first things first, let's figure out how to make this, I'm going to close this for now, how to figure out how to come up with this gradient, right? So again, we're going to need to come up with a left-hand gradient and a right-hand gradient. So let's do the left one first. I'm going to grab this bluish greenish color, and I'm going to tell Thrive Architect, hey, for this background section, for the background section for our hero section, that I'm gonna make use of a gradient. And this gradient is going to be coming in from the left, right? From like the left top left corner. So let's give this a 135-degree angle that it's coming from. And we're gonna make the first color in this gradient, let's make it that green that we just grabbed. And we want the last one to be mint cream, our color. So let's pick mint cream. But check this out. If we were to just leave this as it is, this isn't really what we're going after, right? We want the gradient to not stretch out to the full height of the section, because if we leave it as it is right now, we're going to have this kind of really ugly contrast between our hero section and the next section here. So this isn't really what we're going after. If you take a look at the lander, the original one, these two sections flow pretty much seamlessly, right? There is absolutely no line here separating these sections. So how are we going to do this? How are we going to solve this problem? Well, it's actually kind of easy. We're just going to tell Thrive Architect, hey, I don't want you to stretch out this gradient to the full height of the screen, but rather just a tad bit. So we're going to push this over here. We could even add one more point in between to create a little bit of more smoothness in that transition between the beginning and the end of the gradient. Okay. Let's hit apply. And now we're going to do the same thing for our right-hand column. That actually didn't save itself, right? Nope, it didn't. Okay, so let's bring this over here. Let's create a new one. For this second one, it's using 20%, 40%. I'm going to bring down the opacity a tad bit here. Excellent. And let me hit apply. Okay, that should have saved itself. Now let's do the same thing for the right-hand column. Let me just grab the right-hand color real quick. And this is going to be Celadon or Celadon. Not sure how you pronounce that. So let's add another gradient on top of that one. This one is coming in from the right, so let's just give it a, 235 maybe? Yeah, it sounds about right. Stick in our color, and we want the last one to be mint cream. And again, we don't want this to stretch out to the full height of the screen. Just bring it down. I'm going to add in one more and make the last one a little bit more transparent. And we could probably bring this down even further. Excellent. And we're going to do one more thing. We're going to set the actual background color for this section to be mint cream. And let's see what happens if we do that. Clear day. Apply. All right. Awesome. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to actually preview what we have so far just to see if there's still a little bit of contrast in between sections. All right, and this is what we have so far. We have a completely blank page, but we have a very good looking gradient, and there's pretty much no contrast in between sections, right? It's barely invisible. There is right here, there's still a little bit of a contrast that you can appreciate right here. It's barely noticeable, so we could spend a little bit more time tweaking that and maybe just making the gradients not stretch out as much. Let's bring this even further here. Let's make this 30% of the screen. Perfect. And let's, I was just editing that one, I think. Great, and let's make this 30% of the screen as well. And that would have hopefully taken care of that contrast. Excellent. So let's just keep on building our hero section. Let me just save real quick. All right, so for the sake of saving ourselves a little bit of time, I've already curated out of this page all of the images, so I can start building this section out. I'm just going to go ahead and insert a content box. And I'm going to drag in an image. Great. And let's pick out our Shopify logo. It's going to be this one. And let's just make sure that we're centering this, and let's make it much smaller. All right, let's do probably like 25% for now. And now we need an H1 heading. Let's make this H1. Center this. I'm using Arial Helvetica. So I do probably want to bold this, and let's just bring down the letter spacing a tad bit. -2 pixels. That way, I'm not making use of as much letter spacing. It looks closer to the original Shopify font. The Shopify actually uses a custom font, so I can't use their font, but the one I'm currently using is pretty much the same thing. So anyways, let's copy this text, paste it in, bring your ideas to life for 1 month. Now I do want for 1 month to be on a separate line. So let's go ahead and insert the line break, and I need a lead gen form. Let's do a lead generation form right underneath that, and we need a simple one, something that makes use of probably what? We need to I'm thinking that we may be able to do one that's kind of close. Yeah, probably this one. Great. Let's make it black. And let's actually start customizing this thing. So we are going to need 2 pixels of border, if I'm not mistaken, followed by a lot of roundness. I think it's 75 pixels. Kind of. It looks about right. Now, let's go inside the form element and get rid of these borders. These borders that each of these elements make use of. We probably don't need that, and we probably don't need a background style for the opt-in text. Excellent. And now for our main button, we don't need an icon, but what we do need is a little bit of text. It's going to be start free trial. Awesome. Let's go back to our submit button, make sure that there aren't any weird paddings going on. So we have 19, 24, 18. Let's just make this 20, 24, 20, and 24. Perfect. And we do want to make sure that there isn't a fixed width here. Let's do max and auto. Perfect. And I have a feeling that there is probably going to be, let's make this full actually. And in our columns, there may be a max width somewhere. Let's see. Let's go back to our form. Oh, right here in our form, we have a max width set. Let's get rid of the max width. Let's make it auto. So you can see that has stretched out my button to the full width of this container. So we're getting close. We're getting close. What else do we need to do? We need to make this button rounded and probably adjust some of these internal paddings. And that would be probably it. All right, let's make this button rounded. It's actually, it's a good question. Now let's just make this rounded. So probably like 75. And let's make sure that the form itself has paddings on the left at the very least. Let's try 20 pixels. Okay, it's looking good. I don't need as much top and bottom internal padding. There's too much space in between the edge of this button and the internal edge of the actual form. So let's get rid of those margins or internal paddings. Let's figure out where those pieces are coming from. So this button probably has a little bit of margin. Yeah, it has 20 pixels of internal padding. Oh, wait. We don't want to do that. We want to be doing that probably in our columns. Nope, not our columns. Let's see. Okay, so I can see that this lead generation input does have some top margin. Okay, that took care of that, but that does bring the distance between our opt-in inputs and this submit button and the actual form too close to each other. So maybe like 5 pixels works. Yeah, that's about it. That looks kind of cool. And okay, this is good. Probably don't need this to be 64 pixels. 100%, that's fine. And I'm thinking that we just need to make this right. This 20 pixels of internal padding could probably be 10. Excellent. We are getting close. Now we just need to squash everything down, right? So, go back to our, could be our form, layout and position. Let's just make our form much, much smaller. Okay, and we can tell that that didn't really work for us, but I think I know what's happening. I think that since our submit button is inside a column and our input field is inside a separate column, can you tell how this right-hand column is just very thin? We can just bring this out and stretch it out a little bit more. That's already taking care of that. So that's perfect. And for letter spacing, let's just make sure that they're 0. But I do want the font size to be a little bit bigger. 18. Great. Typography. This is not in love with the way this looks. Let's bring this over to 16 pixels of internal padding. Okay, we are pretty much there, right? That took a little bit of time, but it's pretty much exactly the same, kind of. All right, let's keep going. Let's bring over the disclaimer text. Let's put it here underneath the form. Excellent. Center it, and let's just make sure we're keeping it nice and sweet. It's probably a little bit too small. Yeah, it's better. Now, we can tell that we don't want the disclaimer text to go too far out of our main container, right? So we wanted to stretch out just a little bit over what the actual lead generation form is stretching out to. So let's just set a max width for that text. And that should take care of that. Let's center it, and let's actually bring this down just a tad bit over the actual lead generation form. So that's probably about it. Excellent. And now we need our hero image. Let's bring over an image. And it's going to be this one. And let's center it. Great. And I think that I am not totally convinced on the logo needs to be smaller. Oops, did not want to do that. Sorry. Logo, make sure you're selecting your right elements, and let's just make it smaller. Perfect. Okay, now this is looking much, much better. Plus, the hero image isn't really getting cut off either, which is great. Let's just see what this looks like by previewing the page. So this is the original one, and this is ours. Original one, ours. I think I want to bring down this line height and make the font smaller. They are using, I would say, 12 pixels for this font. So let's just bring down the line height for this. Let's make the line height 1.4 EM, and let's go back to making it 12. Great. And let's just keep on building before we preview anything else. All right, so we're going to need a 3-column layout, but let's make sure we put those columns inside a content box. Now, wait, actually, before we move forward, let's check out the original page. Can you tell how we've been working on a container that was probably like, I would probably say that this was just maybe like 800 pixels wide. But now we're looking at a section that's pretty much stretching out almost to the full width of my screen. So how do we go from a very narrow section to a much wider section? Let's figure that out. So we currently have, let me get rid of this content box first. We currently have a background section that is inheriting the width from our landing page. And our landing page has a max width set of 1080 pixels. We don't want that to happen in our next section. So what we're going to tell Thrive Architect is, hey, don't actually inherit the width of this landing page for this particular background section. Instead, make sure that you set the content maximum width for this section to be Let's just say 1280 pixels. Great. And now we can start building. So now that we've told Thrive Architect, hey, this section that I'm going to be working on can stretch out to be 1280 pixels wide, we can start building our columns. I did forget to center things vertically speaking, so let's just make sure that, selecting our background section, let's align everything to the center vertically speaking, and we're going to do the same thing for our content box. Now we can insert our 3-column layout. Great. I am probably going to want to increase the gutter width to maybe like 40 pixels for now, at least. And this is going to be kind of easy. We need an icon, we need an H3 heading, and then a little bit of text. So let's do that. Let's do an icon. And we need something that looks kind of like a pointer. So let's do a point. Let's just do this one for now. Great. Let's bring it down quite a bit. And then let's left align it. Now we need our H3 heading. It's going to be H3. Let's make this 32 pixels. Big. And let's bring down the line height. The line spacing 10 pixels down. All right, that's perfect. Let's make it bold. And we need this to be oops, didn't want to do that. Customizable templates, perfect. Want to make sure we paste preserving the current style. And then we just need a little bit of text, right? Let's grab this text and let's put it in there. And let's make sure that we're consistent when it comes to line height. We're going to be using 1.4 EM. And that's about it. Now we can just customize this icon. We do want the background color for this icon to be Chinook. So it's A5 E3 B9. Great. So let's make the background color for that Chinook. I'm going to save it as one of my favorite colors just in case we need it. Let's apply it. And we need a lot of internal padding here. So let's do 5555. Probably even more. Let's do 10, 10, 10, 10. And we are making use of, I would probably say 10 pixels of rounded borders. Excellent. Now, I did a mistake, actually. I did make a mistake. I'm going to give you 1 second to try to figure out what mistake did I just make. All right, so hopefully you paused the video and you had a thought, but I did make a mistake, which was not to put everything inside a content box. But tell me, why would you do that? Well, here's the thing. If I don't put things inside a content box, I am going to have to rebuild everything that I just did from scratch in order to continue to build my 2 other columns. But if I put things inside a content box, I can just clone that content box and bring it over and do the same thing for our right-hand column. And boom. Looking nice. Looking real nice. Excellent. So I probably want to get rid of these 20 pixels of padding for this parent container. Excellent. I am liking the way this looks, and we can continue to build things out. I'm not going to spend time customizing each column because it's pretty much the same thing. I would just change the icons and change the copy. Let's just keep working. Now, there were 2 logos in here that for whatever reason I just couldn't manage to download. So instead of building a 5-column layout, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, I'm going to do 4 just because there were 2 logos that just, for whatever reason I wasn't able to grab. So instead of doing a 5-column layout, let's just do a 4-column layout. Excellent. So I have a new background style. And what I'm going to do is, first things first, let's make sure we center everything speaking vertically. Let's make sure we center everything vertically speaking. And then let's insert a content box. And let's do a divider. All right. And I'm make this probably like 2 pixels, but let's bring down the transparency quite a bit. Let's make it, yeah, let's do 10. And then let's duplicate that. And we do want to insert columns. So let's bring over a set of columns right underneath the first divider. Let's make it a 4-column layout. And let's just start inserting some logos. So we're going to do this one. I'm not going to worry too much about the order of them. Let's just make sure that they're sent, that we're, justify them accordingly. Let's do one more. Great. And now that I have my first row of logos done, I can just clone this set of 4 columns and replace these logos for new ones. Excellent. So looking good. Looking good. I like this. Now, you can tell that the spacing isn't quite exactly identical between each logo, and that's mainly because these logos have some more breathing room internally, like inside the image itself. Can you tell how there is more breathing room in here than for this actual image? There's barely any breathing room. So, if I were actually building this out in Shopify, I would take the time to actually make sure that there's exactly the same breathing room inside the image file itself. That way we can make sure that these logos align perfectly. But since this is just a demo, let's just keep powering through this. I do want to make sure that there is less spacing in between these 2 rows than there currently is in our demo. So let's make sure that we bring those down. Perfect. And let's do the same thing for the set of columns. Excellent. And can probably even bring that down furthermore by getting rid of these bottom margins for each of these images. Great. That looks kind of cool. All right, I think we can keep on going, right? Cool, so now we need an H2 heading. This section is going to be kind of easy. Let's do a content box. Again, I did forget to vertically center everything. Now we're going to do a text. Perfect, let's do H2. Let's bold this. Let's make this probably more like 42 pixels. Center it and copy in the text. And then we just need Jonathan Bain, CEO of Theory 11 in there. Let's center this. We can probably just bold this. And that looks kind of cool, doesn't it? It's not as bolded, so let's see if we can change this. And that looks kind of like what we're looking at, right? The font style, again, isn't quite identical, but, it still works. Awesome. Let's keep on going. So we are hitting an interesting section now. But before we work on it, let's just see what we have going on so far. All right, so here's our hero section. Looking good. We scroll down, we have a 3-column layout. Looking good. A section with our logos. Looks great. And then a testimonial here. Let's see what the original one looks like. So there is definitely some more breathing room between the logo section and the section prior to that, and the logo section and the section after that. So let's try to bring up the spacing in between these sections. How? Well, we could just apply some internal padding here. Let's do 60 pixels. Let's actually do 40 pixels above and 60 pixels below. Why am I not being consistent? Well, I can tell that these columns are already giving me some bottom margin. I'm just playing it PI. If you're actually replicating this to use it in your own business, make sure that you take the time to figure out exactly how many pixels each of these columns are actually giving you as bottom breathing room. But playing it by eye, I can tell that there's now that I've added in 40 pixels of top internal padding and 60 pixels of bottom internal padding, the spacing is pretty much the same. There is probably still some more breathing room here. So let's bring this down to 20 pixels. All right, that looks pretty even. Cool. And I think I just want to add a little bit of internal padding to the bottom section here. Excellent. Great. Now, we need to work on the next section. This section, like I said, is an interesting one because we have an image sitting right at the edge of the section, and another image doing the same exact thing, but in the bottom left corner. And then we have our usual content sitting in the middle. So let's just build it out. You're going to learn about absolute values today. Great. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take care of those images that are sitting on the edges of the section. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to drag in an image. We're going to take care of the star one first, from Hello World to IPO. So let's drag that in, and we're going to navigate over to layout and position. Let's dig deep into the advanced settings for this image, and we're going to set the positioning to absolute. Let's set it to the bottom left corner. And we just need to make sure that we add in a little bit of negative bottom spacing so that it sits on the edge. Probably like 70 pixels should be fine. And I'm not going to add any left spacing. And I'm going to tell you guys in a second why is that. But for now, let's just insert the other one. And it's going to be pretty easy. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to do sell everything everywhere now. And instead of doing the bottom left corner, we're going to do the top right corner. And here we're going to be adding in a little bit of top margin. Now, I did forget to do something. Can you tell how this sell everything everywhere is not really touching the edge of the screen? Again, I did a mistake. Pause the video, try to figure out what it is. All right, and I'm about to tell you. So I did forget, once again, to tell Thrive Architect to not inherit the width of our landing page, because right now the content of this background section is only going to stretch out to 1080 pixels wide. So we want to deactivate that option. And by deactivating that option, can you tell how this is already stretching out to the full width of the screen? Which is great. It's exactly what we wanted it to do, right? This is sitting at the very edge of the screen. And this is almost touching the edge of the screen, but not quite. So let's actually come back to the spacing section, and let's just give this a little bit more spacing here, 90 pixels, and we want to bring this a little bit further to the right. Like 50 pixels is fine. And that's looking much more closer. Great. And now we can start inserting a content box. Let's put it right underneath our image and check this out. We want to make sure that the background section itself is aligning everything vertically speaking, right? So right now my content box is sitting at the top of the background section and it's kind of overlapping this image. We don't want that to happen. So let's make sure that, in our background section, we center things vertically speaking. And that's not going to affect our images. Again, we've set an absolute positioning for those images, so those images are safe where they are. And our content box, the one thing that we do want to fix is the fact that it's stretching out to the full width of our screen, right? Well, not quite, but it is stretching out quite a bit. We want to make sure that the content is sitting, somewhat as the same width as the content section above. So let's just make this 1080 pixels wide. And let's center this. That's probably about it, right? This is going to stretch out once we actually insert some text. Let's go ahead and do that. Build your dream business for €1 a month. Let's insert a little bit of text. Perfect. And this is going to be, let's do an H2. Let's make it white. Let's make it bold. And that's probably good. Let's insert some more text underneath it. Again, let's center this. Let's make it white. And we can probably make that 22 pixels. And now we need a new lead gen form. I'm thinking, could we probably just grab this one, clone it, bring it over, and just customize it a little bit? Let's try doing that. Instead of making it black, let's make it white. All right, let's make the text here black. Let's make the text here black as well. We probably need that background color to be white. Sure. Okay, and let's see what we've got going on here. And we probably need, right, we need to come up with rounded borders for this opt-in input field. So let's do that. Let's do 75 pixels. Great. And as long as we assign a background color to our opt-in form, we should be good, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. That's kind of like it, right? More or less. Maybe a little bit of more internal padding over here to the input field. Let's do 25 pixels. Great. Yay, looking good. And let's just not forget a bar. And let's just not forget a bar. And let's just not forget about. And let's just not forget about our disclaimer text. Excellent. Center that. Let's make it white. Let's make it much smaller. And I do probably want to squash this in a little bit. That's better. Maybe a little bit more. That's probably about it. I do feel like in this original page, there's a whole lot more breathing room in between the, the top edge and the bottom edge and the actual content itself. So let's go ahead and insert a little bit of internal padding here. Let's do 40 pixels. No, probably like even 60. 60 pixels. Again, I'm playing it by eye. And of course, that is going to change our positioning. Silly Tony. Didn't think about this beforehand. Great. Excellent. I'm okay with the spacing here. This is fine. Yeah, this is looking all right. And now we are hitting our FAQ section, which is an interesting one as well, because here we have our main content is actually sitting right, at the center of the screen, but then we do have this FAQ heading outside of the actual content section. Why did they do that? I'm actually not sure. I'm not even sure it looks that good, to be honest. I would have probably liked having the FAQ section here, like aligned with the rest of the content and not floating here at the almost touching the edge of the screen. But anyways, let's just copycat what Shopify did. Let me hit save before we keep moving. All right, and let me just give you a quick preview of what we have so far. Hero section, 3-column layout, logo section, testimonial. Cool. Oh, we did forget about the gradient. I forgot about the gradient. Right, we got to take care of that. So let's actually take care of that real quick before we move on. Let's grab that one color. It's hippie green. So this gradient is actually easier than the one above, because here we just need to start off with hippie green and end the gradient with this dark green color. So let's do that. I'm going to go over to background style for this particular section, add a gradient. It's going to start with hippie green, and it's even easier because it's going left to right, maybe like 75 degrees kind of, and it's going to end in this deep jungle green. Excellent. Boom. And now it's just a question of bringing this over to the left. That's about it. That looks kind of cool. Great. Boom. Problem solved. All right, let's keep on building our FAQ section. So again, before we move on and before I make the same mistake again, we don't want to inherit the width for this particular section for one particular reason, that FAQ heading. So let's get rid of that. Let's make the content for this section stretch out to the entire screen width. And we're going to insert one content box, which is going to be a content box for our heading. Let's insert a text element here. Let's do an H2. Let's do FAQ. I think I was doing 42 pixels for H2s. And let's bold it. Now, see what we can do here. There's a couple of ways in which we could tackle this. Right now, I'm not loving how the FAQ section is sitting on top of this image, right? We don't want that to happen. We need a little bit of more breathing room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell this content box, hey, stretch out only to be 1200 pixels wide. And please center yourself. And that still didn't quite do it. Oh yeah, it did. All right. Yeah, it looks about right. So now if we simply add in a little bit of top margin, like 60 pixels. Yeah, that looks about right. Great, and now we're going to insert one more content box here, right underneath the content box for our heading, and this one is only going to stretch out to be 1080 pixels wide. Let's center it, and yeah, that's about it. We could probably even make this content box be 1280 pixels wide. Yep, that's about it, isn't it? Okay, so this font size is definitely bigger. And there's still a little bit more distance between the heading and the actual FAQ section than the heading and the actual image. But I'm not going to get super picky with that. That's just a question of playing with margins and stuff. So figure out, what width do you want each content box to stretch out to, and that should give you the answer. Now, let's insert a toggle. It's going to be one column. And we want a plus icon here to let the toggle expand. So let's edit this toggle item. Let's bold the typography. Let's make it probably like 24, maybe even bigger. And we need these three dots to be a plus icon. Plus, there you go. Perfect. I think I want to make this icon a little bit bigger. Not too much. All right, that's about it. And we need some dividers, right? I'm wondering what the best way of doing that is. I probably just need to have each toggle item have a bottom border. Let's do that. Let's insert 1 pixel of bottom border. Is 1 pixel enough? Yeah, 1 pixel should be enough. And then let's make this a light gray. I'm actually wondering, I'm not sure if I'd rather have 2 pixels. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, that's probably good enough. I can tell that there is some padding. So we probably do want some padding for each toggle item. Instead of 10 pixels, let's actually do 25 pixels. Yeah. This is definitely looking a whole lot more like what Shopify has going on. And then when you expand this, you get the text, which is kind of what's happening here, right? You expand it and you get the text. Now, here's what's happening. This icon is changing when the toggle is expanded. We can't actually swap the icon itself, but we could rotate it in a way that makes it look like we've actually changed it. So let's do that. For this particular toggle, let's expand it. And when the state is expanded, I want to make sure that we rotate this icon. Icon size, rotate icon. Let's just rotate it 45 degrees. Boom. Let's head down. Let me save and let's see what that looks like. All right, we have our hero section, 3-column layout, logos, testimonial, cool section with absolute positioning happening with our images, and a section with some FAQs. And yeah, I kind of really like that, right? When the toggle is open, you get that icon rotation. Pretty slick, I like it. All right, and we are pretty much almost done. Now we just need to create a custom menu here at the very bottom. So inside our background section, now we can actually center things vertically speaking, insert a content box, and inside our content box, let's just do a custom menu. It's going to be a standard menu. And let's just pick a basic one. Let's make sure we align things to the right, and now we can just swap out the text. Let's make it terms of service. All right, let's make the items a little bit bigger. Oh, not that big, maybe like 20 pixels. 18? Yeah, 18 is fine. And let's just underline them. And boom. All right, let's hit save and let's see what our landing page looks like. All right, and let's see what we got going on. We have our hero section. Looks clean. I like it. 3-column layout with our feature section, logos, testimonial section, FAQs, toggles working nice, and our custom menu here at the very bottom. Nice and clean. I like it. And well, that's about how easy it is to build out a landing page using Thrive Architect. I do get excited when I record these types of videos because it just goes to show how powerful Thrive Architect is. Without writing a single line of code, we've been able to replicate a landing page that a company as big as Shopify is using to capture leads, and you too can follow these steps to create the best landing pages in no time at all. But yeah, drop down below in the comment section any questions that you may have, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.